So glad that everybody was able to make it so last minute to this meeting. Thank you for taking the time to join us for the Master Plan Steering Committee. We have Ken Comia here as well as Catherine Ratte from PVPC. They will be the consultants we are working with, and they have a PowerPoint presentation to give an introduction to what we'll be doing over the next couple of months.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Catherine Ratte and the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, in case you're not familiar with our initials. And I just wanted to acknowledge Amber Stearns is an intern from Westfield State University who is working with us on this project for course credits. So she's here to listen and learn and take notes. So take notes while you're here, Amber. And Ken Comia, as Bethany said, my colleague, is our senior planner who focuses on land use and zoning. So this is his expertise. And to get started, we just wanted, I'm assuming you maybe all know each other or maybe you don't, but we'd like to just go around quickly and talk. We'd like you to introduce yourselves, what aspect of the community you feel like you're representing on this master plan committee, on this resilient master plan committee, and then a short overview of your hopes and dreams and expectations for your 7 months of service on this working committee. And so I'll just start, I'll do a little modeling. So I'm Catherine Ratte, I live in Springfield. I've been at the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission for 22 years, and my hopes for this process are that the town will have a vision that can help you guide your future development for the next 10 years, and that you'll identify some areas of commonality upon which you can build. So you want to go around? I'll just call on people, unless somebody wants to just volunteer first. All right, Gordon, you're there in my box, right where I see you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Gordon Smith. I'm the superintendent of schools. Been superintendent here for 10 years. Fantastic community, and was just looking forward to hopefully helping develop the vision for what the future may look like for East Longmeadow, and certainly as East Longmeadow goes, the school system will go too. And I'm just happy to talk about something other than COVID-19.
Yeah. All right, Pamela.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pam Blair. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Business for the school department. This is my 6th year here in the district. Very happily, I love your district. So, I'm glad to be a part of this process and certainly see the continued growth for the town and the school department. Thank you.
Thank you. Joseph.
Hi, everybody. Joe Williams, resident of town. I'm heavily involved in the baseball program here. I also serve as president of the East Longmeadow Baseball Association, which is a recent election. Been in town for about 5 years. My main occupation is I work in commercial lending for People's Bank, a local bank based out of Holyoke. My primary goal is to just learn more about the town and more about ways in which I could kind of help it move forward.
Great, thank you. Connor.
Hi there, I'm Connor O'Shea. I'm a lifelong resident in town, and I work as a software developer for Big Y. And I'm really just interested to see how the town feels about moving forward in whatever direction people think the town's going in, because I think a lot's changed since the last master plan was done, well before I've been around. So.
Yeah. I think the last plan is from the 60s, or how old is it, Bethany?
I think it was like 1970 something.
Oh, 70.
1976.
Okay. 76, okay. Thank you, Connor. And Tim.
Hi, good afternoon. Tim Murphy. So I own a local store here in East Longmeadow called 413. We're right here in Center Square. We spend a lot of time in the community, so definitely interested to find a way for us to participate in ways to improve things for the future. Our running groups actually spend a lot of time all around town. So yeah, whatever we can do to participate and help is really what we're interested in.
That's fantastic. I'm sure you'll help with outreach. Anne.
Hi, my name is Anne DeWolf, and I've been a resident of East Longmeadow for 30 years, but I also work for the Economic Development Council of Western Mass. So I do a lot of data research and bringing businesses into cities and towns. So I've actually worked with the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission quite a bit with Molly Gorham Watts.
Yeah.
We sat on that data group, and I hope that I can help in any way you would like me to help.
Great. I'm sure you will. And George.
Yeah, George Kingston. I've lived in town since 1979. I've been involved in one way or another with land use and land use planning in town since 1988, and have been trying to get a master plan moved on for about 5 years now. So I'm really happy to see it going. And my main concerns are to make sure that while we meet the state requirements, the master plan really reflects what the residents of East Longmeadow want in their future.
Great. And I know Marilyn is listening in. Should I have Marilyn introduce herself or just have her quietly listening in? What are your thoughts, Bethany?
Marilyn, that's up to you. Marilyn is on our housing chapter, so she's working on an element of the master plan. We got funding for the housing chapter prior to receiving notification that we had funding for the entire master plan, so that chapter came first.
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited that we're doing this. Thank you for letting me say hello. And I just want you to know we've already done the first chapter for you. So we're excited that the housing chapter is shaping out beautifully, and I look forward to see the rest. So I'm going to take my face from your picture, but I'm going to be listening.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Amber, do you want to do a quick intro?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Amber Stearns. I actually live in Central Mass. I'm a third year at Westfield State, and I'm just hoping I can help out with reviewing old master plans. So thanks for having me.
And Ken.
Ken Komiya. I'm a senior land use planner at Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, as Catherine had mentioned. My experience is in municipal planning, having served as a town planner and conservation agent in the past. Being able to work in East Longmeadow for the past few months, even though it's been virtual, I have learned a lot about the community. I'm hoping that we can take some of the initial momentum from the housing chapter that we've been working on and doing that for the remainder of the plan. So I'm excited to get started.
Great. So since this is our first meeting, there's going to be a fair amount of just talking at you. Sorry, sharing information. And Ken's going to get started with the PowerPoint while I mute my dog.
All right. Oops. Okay, so welcome to the Master Plan Committee and members of the public and those that will be watching this later. So a couple of notes on public participation. This meeting is being recorded. Question and comments can be directed to Bethany Yale, your Director of Planning and Community Development in town, and that's her email address. And a recording of the meeting will be posted to LCAT shortly thereafter. The agenda for today, we just gone through the welcome and introductions. We're going to move into what is a resilient master plan, talk about the meeting schedule, committee responsibilities, community engagement, and next steps. All of you that are participating today, these are the members of the Master Plan Committee for the next couple of months. We'll be together for the next couple of months working on getting the elements together and into a product that is reflective, as George had mentioned, reflective of the community and community values and the discussions that you'll be having at the moment virtually. The project team at Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, so Catherine and I will be serving as the co-project managers. And as Catherine had mentioned, I am working on the land use and zoning section of the plan. I am currently in the process of working with the housing chapter committee, and we are going through that draft. And then we'll also assist with open space and natural resources chapter. Catherine will be looking at climate adaptation and sustainability and resiliency, as that is her specialty at PVPC. And we have some content specialists that will be working on the other elements of the plan. Lori Tanner, who's the Economic Development Manager working on Economic Development section. Gary Rue is a section head and is working on Transportation and Mobility element. And Shannon Walsh is our Historic Preservation Planner and is working on the Historical and Cultural Resources element of the master plan. And then we have the behind the scenes staff that's working on the graphics and website and the final product. Ray Centeno will be doing that. Jake Dollinger is our GIS specialist. He'll be assisting with some of the map products that will come out of this process. Doug Hall, he is our data manager and analyst and will be working a lot with our staff people and can provide some context for the different types of data sets that are out there. And then Todd Zakowski, who's the section head of GIS Data and Communications, will help lead some of the presentation efforts and will also incorporate some drone technology in this project. So we're going to start with, what is a resilient master plan? Master planning in Massachusetts, and George probably knows this. It's guided by Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 81D. And so, as George had mentioned, you know, that is the state statute that kind of solidifies what a master plan looks like. And within that legislation, there are the elements that should be presented in a product. A master plan is a blueprint for the future. It describes the long-term vision and how to achieve it. Guides the zoning changes, capital improvements, budgeting, and decision-making of the town through the various goals and strategies that you'll be exploring when we get to that component after identifying issues through the various means that we will be doing that. And usually covers the time frame of 10 years. And the hope is after this master plan is completed, that a master plan implementation committee is convened and does annual or not annual, but routine updates to the plan to keep it current and relevant to the sentiments of the town. On the right side of the screen is what a master plan is not. And I think that's one of the important things that you know should be gathered from this, is that it's not a zoning bylaw. So your town has a zoning bylaw that dictates what can be built where. This is not that. A subdivision regulations similarly are a set of regulations that affect development in town, and that's not what a master plan is. Your capital improvement program, which is, you know, a guided program by the town council and your administration to figure out what you need to spend your money on. That's not this. And then any other regulatory document like open space and recreation plan or hazard mitigation plan, those are not these. I think another important concept that's not in this particular slide is that it is the planning board is the keeper of this document, and they are the ones to adopt this document after all is said and done. So that's important to note. The elements of a master plan. So as dictated in that chapter of the Mass General Law, you have goals, land use, housing, economic development, cultural and historic resources, natural resources, open space and recreation, transportation, and they still use the word circulation in the legislation. Public facilities, services, and energy, and implementation. I think the important addition to this element, and will be in this version of the master plan for the town, is Catherine will be working with the committee and in our focus groups on climate adaptation and sustainability, as it's not required by MGL. However, it is a component of, it is a required component of the grant, which is helping to fund this master plan. It's the Municipal Vulnerabilities Program. I always forget my
Preparedness
grant. Action grant. So that is what is helping us convene today and helping us engage with the community to develop your master plan. Implementation, which was that number 10 on the previous slide. As I mentioned previously, it's a policy guidance document, this resilience master plan. So it guides and tells the various boards and committees who are going to be working towards achieving some of these goals. So the second bullet says, that's not town meeting. You don't have town meeting, it's town council. And the planning board and other boards and commissions oversee implementation of the plan's recommendations. And so along with your town council, your boards and commissions will be using this document to identify the areas where you can either apply for additional funding, if there's a grant program that's available to assist in some of the strategies that you've identified. But it is a policy document and it will guide that policy going forward. Resilience, it's a capacity to recover. And so I'm just gonna read this quote from Governor Baker. "Climate change is the challenge that will affect every government agency and every community across the Commonwealth. And our coordination in addressing this challenge will help protect Massachusetts residents, infrastructure, and natural resources while improving quality of life year-round." And so again, this is an important aspect of this resilient master plan, in that we are going to be addressing resilience according to this definition.
I apologize at this point. This is George. I've got to leave the meeting.
Okay, thank you, George.
Thanks.
So the resilient master plan process is we are going to review existing conditions to identify the issues, challenges, and needs, distill public input gained via survey and series of meetings into guiding principles that will help us develop those goals, develop strategies to achieve those goals, and then also create a policy document for implementation. I think as I am currently working with the housing element working group on that aspect of the master plan, going through the similar process is definitely a universal thing, and we can, as we identify existing conditions elsewhere, I think, and as that is going to be a draft as of the end of the year, we will be refining that over time as we continue to speak to the community. So that's just my comment about the housing chapter, and that we will be continuing to refine that over time. And then I'm going to switch it over to Catherine for community engagement.
Thanks, Ken. And I forgot to say, if there's any questions, feel free to just chime in as we're going along. This is a small group, and this should be very collegial. So if there's anything that you want us to slow down or whatever, just feel free to chime in. Next slide. This resilient master planning process in East Longmeadow is being led by the town, obviously, but you've engaged the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, and we have a number of sub-consultants who are collaborating with us. So we've got a specialist in community engagement. We just completed a procurement process, so we haven't selected of the 3 people who responded to the procurement, but we're excited about all 3 of the proposals. So we will have another entity assisting with that, and we'll be introducing that firm to you at the January meeting. But we will still be, all of us together will still be working very closely on the community engagement. So obviously the purpose is to assure George's point and many of your points about why you're involved with this, is that this is a process that is true to East Longmeadow, that it's not a cookie cutter, master plan, plop it on from some other community and pretend like these are your goals. So understanding that, again, the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Initiative that is funding this, Governor Baker's initiative, to make sure that every community in the Commonwealth is resilient. And the cool thing about the government, the state government in Massachusetts, from one of the many cool things from my 22 years as an outsider, but an insider within government, is how the state government understands the importance of home rule and the power of each community to make decisions for themselves. So, you know, the Commonwealth has committed to making sure that this state will be resilient going into the future, but has said, we don't really know what everybody needs. So they've given money to communities to say, this is what we need. This is what our priorities are with respect to resilience. And again, we're talking about the climate crisis, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, but also changing your infrastructure and your built environment and resources so that with the inevitable increasingly severe and unpredictable weather events, flooding, extreme heat, et cetera, that your community, both the physical built environment as well as the human side and the environment, the natural side, will be able to bounce back and will not be devastated by the weather that we know will happen. And so again, we want to make sure that we engage people who may be more vulnerable to these events than others. So in East Longmeadow, older adults are going to be much more likely to be vulnerable to the extreme heat. But we're going to make an effort to engage everybody, the existing town boards. It's great that we have Anne on from the Western Mass Economic Development Council, because we need to engage regional players, and we'll be looking to all of you to tell us and our engagement consultant, you know, precisely whom we need to reach out to. Next slide. And we're using for those of you who have been involved with community planning processes or work in the business community, or we're using, you know, standard tools, stakeholder interviews, focus groups. We'll be doing obviously a lot of data collection and research analysis. And then implementing a community survey. Because you guys have already done the housing chapter and have had a robust community engagement process for that, this community survey will be focused on prioritizing the action recommendations, which I think is kind of cool. Instead of doing it at the beginning to lift up issues, we'll be doing it at the end to focus on actions. And the engagement is basically 2 big events and then 6 smaller events. So the first one is a big community visioning workshop that's going to happen in January, February, and then the big community implementation workshop that will happen in May. And then the other stuff will be sandwiched into those. Go ahead, Ken. I'm probably getting ahead of, yeah. So the visioning workshop, and again, this is for those of you who've been in the community since in the 70s with the last master plan, it's very unusual to complete a community master plan in 7 months. And so it's a strategic planning process imposed on a community comprehensive planning process. So it's strategically comprehensive or comprehensively strategic. So again, you know, basic strategic planning, we're going to be looking at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, making sure that we figure out how to engage all different kinds of people, and then figure out, you know, what's in common, so that there will be an overall vision statement that will have been based on all the input, but that will capture something that everybody in the community can agree on where you want to go in the future. Next. And as I said, in the end of the process, there will be another whole community-wide workshop to focus on prioritizing all the many actions that will have emerged out of the planning process based on the topic areas. And this will be all virtual, and I have been in virtual meetings of 4,000 people and, you know, 1 other person, obviously. So that range does work virtually. I know it sounds terrifying to think that we're going to try to engage your whole community virtually, but we are going to do it, and it has been successful in these last 9 months, communities across the Commonwealth. And if you know, as you start thinking about this process and getting engaged, we'll give you resources. The Commonwealth has been, this municipal vulnerability preparedness program has been in place for several years. And so there are master plans that have been created, resilient master plans that have been created by other communities. The town of Amherst did one 2 years ago. The town of Palmer is underway right now. So there are lots of places where we can direct you to look and see, like, well, what does it look like? What are you guys talking about? Next. So the meeting schedule. So here we are in December, having our first meeting. we had hoped to meet in November, but you know, we got a little bit delayed. As I said, or maybe I didn't say, but we did a previous procurement to engage a collaborator, and we're not as successful as we have been the second round. So we've been a little bit delayed, but even though that has been happening, our staff, the specialists that you saw in the subject areas, have already begun the process of data collection and analysis. And the great thing about your regional planning agency working with you on your community master plan is that we are already here in the region. We've already worked with you on many other projects. We know the community, so there's no learning curve for us. So if I know this is a little bit hard to see, but if you just read from rows on the top, we have the tasks, and then we have interactive resilient master plan website. So our colleagues, Ray Centeno in our graphic design section, are putting up the website. We don't have it completed yet, but it should be up in a couple of days. And this website is really the portal for the plan. So it'll be a link, it'll be transparent, it'll be off your town website. It'll be right there. And this is the place where we will put all the meeting announcements, the notes from the meetings, the recordings, the presentations, the draft materials. We'll have a place that says, here's all your existing plans. So if anybody's thinking like, what was in our last master plan, or what was in our open space and recreation planner, how does the hazard mitigation plan link to this community plan? All those plans will be there. As we mentioned, our intern Amber will be going through them all and summarizing what's there to make it easier for people. If you don't want to read the whole plan, you can just read her summaries. We'll have your steering committee meetings will be monthly. We're trying to cram in one extra one, so we may try to do a second one in either December or January. But basically, this meeting is the kickoff. It's not as strenuous for you, but going forward, you're gonna have a lot of work in between meetings. Well, not too much work, but maybe 5 hours of work in between meetings to review stuff. And so be prepared to come back and give us comments. The community vision workshop, as we said, we will be introducing you to the engagement consultant, and their primary responsibility is those 8 meetings. So they will be proposing to you at the January meeting, or if we are able to squeeze a second one in December, what's going to happen, and you'll have a chance to give input on that. Then that will happen in either January or February, depending on the timing. As Ken said, our colleague Jake, the Geographic Information Systems or GIS specialist, is doing all that work, getting underway. Doug is starting to collect data. Doug Hall is fantastic. If you want to look at any data, we have this great Pioneer Valley data portal. But Doug's going to come to the January meeting and do a 15-minute sort of overview of what is the data telling us about East Longmeadow right now. And again, that will be an opportunity for you all to say, well, that's what the data is telling you, but we live here, and this is the other data that you need to factor in. So the goals chapter, then these are all the required chapters. And again, you'll be getting drafts of those presented to you. It may not be January, we may be bumping that a little bit, but we'll try to get you those drafts in a timely fashion. And as you can see, it is going to be a fair amount of work. You're going to be getting 10 or 20 pages of data and text that you'll need to look at, and then give us feedback at your meetings. Then we drop down to the community engagement, and we've already gone over that, but basically there's the visioning. Then these smaller meetings, focus groups, stakeholder interviews. The engagement consultant will also be making sure that, working with the staff and all of you, that there's presence in the local media, traditional media, as well as social media. And then posters, not maybe virtual posters, but since we have representatives from the business community there, and there still is commerce happening in your physical stores, we'll be able to take advantage of that as well. We wanted to let you know that concurrent with your master plan, because this is the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program is funding this work, we were able to also the town was able to get funding to do a regulatory review focused specifically on stormwater regulations and integrating nature-based solutions into your existing stormwater regulations. That's going to be happening. The consultants who are doing that work is a firm called Dotson Flinker. They are based in Northampton, and they're again also very familiar with this region. So that's going to be happening concurrently. And so when they have some materials to present, we will integrate them into your meetings, and then they'll be sharing that so that you're getting not only a plan, but you're also getting recommended changes to your existing regulations at the same time. And then, as I said, we'll have the survey toward the end to engage the community and prioritize action recommendations. And then we conclude with the community implementation workshop, and then give you the proposed final plan, which, as Ken said, gets adopted by the planning board. And then that's when it becomes the town's plan.
Okay, so we, as part of this particular process, as Catherine mentioned, you know, she said that you're going to be getting homework and all of this, you know, these other responsibilities as members of this master plan committee. So we're just going to go briefly through that. So the responsibilities for the master plan committee are, you know, try to be here, attend monthly meetings, comment on our review of existing plans, visions, proposed actions. Again, you know, if you recall from that chart, I think January had 3 chapters in there. So, you know, or February had 3 chapters. So expect that between 2 meetings, there's going to be some documents for you to review and provide comment. Identify distinct populations and groups that have a vested interest in the town for stakeholder interviews to be conducted by PVPC. So as is the case with housing, we had a focus group meeting. We were put in touch with people that had specific concerns and represented the housing in East Longmeadow. And so we hope that you will also be forthcoming with some of the information and contacts and your networks to put us in that direction. Review and provide input in the drafting of the survey questions. I think that's self-explanatory as we get closer to the implementation survey towards the end of the project. Public education events, participating in the vision workshops, the data analysis conducted by PVPC. So in addition to Doug, you know, giving a brief introduction of the snapshot to East Longmeadow and the current data sets that are out there, each of the sections will have similarly some refined analysis of land use, or no, that's my section, but of the various elements. So for instance, economic development, there are some trends and analysis regarding those data points that Lori will be taking to the committee and others to review and get comments on to ensure that she's capturing what she needs to regarding that. Again, assisting in the drafting of the goal, strategy, and action steps, reviewing the master plan chapters as they're developed, and attending the public forums and hearings as we schedule them. So for this committee, we're also going to be, and I think we're going to do this at the next meeting because we have an absent member, or George just left for the day, that we have a chair and vice chair or co-chairs of this committee. It's to open, conduct, and adjourn meetings on time. That's the responsibility of the chair. Be available as necessary to assist in the preparation of agendas and how to best involve the full committee, and act as a spokesperson upon approval of the committee during public involvement processes and public exchanges. I think, you know, that's important, especially if, you know, there's something coming out of the committee out to the community from, you know, a resident that is part of this committee. And then the vice chair or the other co-chair, if they want to split those particular tasks, that would be what happens, or what that person would be responsible for. And I'm going to let Catherine discuss chapter captains.
Okay, so this was a cool, innovative idea that I don't know if it was Bethany's idea or where it came from when we were helping to prepare the grant application, but it was funded, and the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs is excited about it. And So you all are volunteering to serve on the Resilient Master Plan Committee, which is fantastic and crucial and essential, and we couldn't do it without you. But you're going to be so busy, as you saw from from the work program, that we had this idea to have additional volunteers who would have a slightly less time-consuming responsibility. And so people who may not be interested in, serving on monthly meetings and doing all that work, but are just really excited about one of the topics. And so we're looking for people who can be identified as the chapter captain of the. We were thinking of the 8 subject area chapters, but if somebody wants to work on the goals chapter or the implementation chapter, we will certainly be excited to have them. But so what we're looking for is people who care about the topic and who want to be available to work with our staff to make sure that what they're the research, the data that they're collecting, the information that they're putting in, and the movement that they're going in terms of trying to describe the situation related to, let's just say, circulation, transportation, and the recommendations, that they're doing it accurately and in sync with the community of East Longmeadow. So we're looking for people. It's about 5 hours a month from December to March, and then the draft chapters will all be completed by then. And so the time becomes a little bit less, and then maybe an additional 2 to 3 hours for the refining. And then we would love it, obviously, if the chapter captains could come to the community visioning meeting and the implementation workshop, and then whatever of the other meetings were appropriate for their area of interest. So we're wondering if you all have suggestions. We can talk about them when we finish our presentation today, or you can keep the idea percolating and just send your suggestions to Bethany, and she will share them with us, so that my colleagues are already eager to identify people. And so we've talked about this idea and everybody's excited about it, but so we want to be able to tell Shannon Walsh, our historic preservation specialist, who can she call just to say, hey, I'm getting started and like to check in with you. And again, we're talking, phone check-ins, Zoom if people want to do that, but basically just they don't have to come to meetings. So, and again, we're pretty excited about this idea. Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs is really excited about it. And I think it's a great new feature for master planning.
So we have some next steps. This is basically the end of our presentation with regards to what we're looking at for the following meeting when we identify that date. And that is specific to identifying a date, and also providing some contacts and a network contacts for Bethany regarding the chapter captains.
Can you stop sharing for a sec so we can all see each other? Yeah.
And so with that, those are established, at least for after this presentation. Those are some of the tasks that we'll be needing to work on before the next meeting. And then at the next meeting will be the presentation by our data specialist and introduction to our community engagement specialist. Catherine, is there anything to add there?
No, I'd love to hear what people's thoughts are, questions, comments about the presentation, all the information that you just heard, and then, yeah, we can talk about the future meetings. Anybody have any comments, or are you all excited, overwhelmed? Everybody unmute and start talking.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll call on people.
It seems good. I mean, it was a lot to digest at one sitting, but I think we'll get through it.
And this is recorded, so if you need to reference that PowerPoint again, Ken, if you have a copy of it that you could send out, we could do it. Just send out the PowerPoint so everyone can reference it again. But we'll also have this recording up on YouTube on the LCAT station to reference as needed.
Yeah, and as Catherine mentioned, the forthcoming website will be the depository of all of these files that will get to you, and documents that you'll see either as a shared screen or something that is shared via email. So this slide deck will be on there, as well as the plans that the town has adopted. So old plans like community development plan, your hazard mitigation plan, your new 2020 open space plan that I just learned about at the last housing committee meeting. So all of that will be up there on the website when that website is available. But we're hoping that you'll be able to access that very easily, and the public will if they choose to look at it.
So any other general comments on all the information you just heard?
I just have a question, Catherine. I
Yeah.
believe you said that there was 8 categories. Didn't I hear
Yeah.
you say that? Are those listed in the PowerPoint? I'm sorry that I'm not remembering all of them. I'm just.
Let me
Yeah,
go back there.
they're the Mass General Law requires chapters. So land use, housing, economic development, circulation or transportation, natural resources, open space and recreation, historic, cultural, that's 6. Oh, there's goals, implementation, 7, 8. There's one, I'm forgetting one.
Public facilities
Oh yeah, facilities, public facilities.
and
So
services.
it's designed to cover all aspects of life in the community, but oddly enough, it doesn't cover education. And we didn't propose to include a chapter on education, but certainly we can weave education throughout, throughout the process. It's a funny thing that, master planning in Massachusetts doesn't cover education, doesn't usually have a focus on food. And it doesn't include like crime and police services, which is so weird because it's the thing that people are concerned about the most often, is crime. But that's the way it is. So, but again, if those issues surface as we're doing this work, we will figure out how to integrate them in. I guess public facilities and services, that's where you could kind of cover all those missing features. So we can make sure that we do that. But since we have some time right now, unless there's other comments, I was thinking you could, I would love it to hear, first of all, if anybody has suggestions for chapter captains. You probably don't want to throw them out now because you probably want to talk to them first before you nominate them. So we'll wait on that. But I would love it if you could start thinking a little bit about who are the groups that we should make sure that we engage. We've already got the Western Mass Economic Development Council, but is it like, are there churches in the town that are really important that we should work with, like all of them, or is there one that's sort of the place that, that brings the faith community together? Is anything popping into your head in terms of the faith community where we should make sure that we can reach out, or should it just be, comprehensive? Does anybody have a sense of that? No?
I don't know. Do we have a joint council of churches?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
And that's may not be the title of it, but I think it would be wise to figure out how we tap into that. I know that I've spoken to many different pastors over the years, but I think if they had a collective group, that might be the easiest way to tap into them.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. But if we don't know that, we'll find out. And then in terms of the business community, is there a chamber of commerce that brings everybody together, or are there 1 or 2 businesses that are, aside from the ones that are represented here, are there groups that you think we should talk to specifically?
You have East of the River Chamber of Commerce,
Right.
That brings a number of communities together, and I don't know if is Tom Christensen the head of that right now? Does anybody know?
Nancy Connors.
Nancy Connor, yeah.
Okay.
I think their office is right up the street too from us.
Are there any other informal groups of businesses, or are there people that we should speak to?
Do you ever involve tourism?
Yeah, if you want to. I mean, I would think that would be something you'd all be concerned about, that people coming to spend their money in your community, I think would be a good thing. So yeah.
Because there's the CVB, or the Convention Bureau.
Okay, great. what are some other key groups in the community that that you all are connected with, that bring people together? That are, yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Hey, I'm not part of it, but what about the Rotary Club? Would that be a group that might be something that would be helpful?
That would be great. Yeah, we just want your ideas right now, just to get us started. You know, Bethany can reel off all the things that she's aware of, but you all have different experiences. So this is a time for you to just pop out ideas, whatever you're thinking. Again, these are people that we'll invite to stakeholder sessions, or that we'll invite specifically to the community workshop. I mean, everybody will be invited, but then we want, you know, if there's some key people or groups that we want to make sure we can get to early on, that's what we're counting on, looking for your advice and guidance.
You said the recreation committee was, or the recreation was part of the plan as well, right? Did I see that in there?
Yep.
Maybe like the rec commission or the rec department, or both.
Yep.
Might not be a bad idea also.
Yes, and the way that, and again, the way that Bethany has structured this committee is really interesting and cool too, I think, because you all are not municipal officials, but there's obviously a whole slew of municipal officials who are responsible for these areas in your community. And so Bethany's going to be bringing the municipal officials in to hear the consultant's presentation on the chapters. And so you'll be giving feedback on them at the same time as the professionals in the community will be giving feedback. And of course, we will have, you know, consulted with them and made sure that everything is accurate. But again, so you all are leading it instead of those people, which I think is exciting.
With the exception of Gordon, dragged him into this.
Oh yeah, right. But again, because he doesn't have a special chapter, he's
right.
he's in a different position. Yeah.
And I think with the schools,
every chapter.
Right, exactly.
Right. As Catherine mentioned, integrating the conversation with the schools department is very important. As I met with the focus group in housing, that definitely came up. And the community survey, there are definitely comments about the schools. So I think it's great that Gordon is able to participate, and Pamela can also help with some of those conversations regarding the school.
Yeah, and actually it would be cool if we did a focus group of youth. And so that's something you can keep in your head over time as we get the engagement specialist on board. It would be nice to have a whole focus specifically on, you know, once we've got some input of what we're thinking, get the youth perspective on all the action recommendations, and even on the problems too. That would be really great.
I think one of the main things I'm hoping this master plan will help with is the change in perspective as far as transportation goes. In 1976, it was much more geared towards cars, and now is much more geared towards pedestrians. And Tim, I'm hoping you can help bring some perspective in as a runner in the community on what that looks like when you're going around on foot in the community, and how we could help steer the community towards a more pedestrian friendly place in the future. Sure.
And what about bicycling? Is there an interest in bicycling, or is it more focused on walking?
No, there's a lot of cyclists.
A lot of cyclists too.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there a possibility of viewing the old steering plan? Is that available to be accessed somewhere?
Yep, that's on the East Longmeadow website, but I can email it out to everybody. You'll know it's quite dated.
Yeah.
As Ken mentioned, there was the Commonwealth funded community development plans in 2003, and it was only $30,000, so it was not a huge amount of money, but it was a long time ago. But it did a focus on economic development, natural resources, transportation, and housing. So there's a 2003 plan that only covers those 4 aspects, and then also we found the housing plan from 2012. We did a housing needs assessment and action plan back in 2012. And then, yeah, you have your, I'm sorry, we did the housing, when did we do, you're doing the housing chapter now. I apologize. I had a little brain blip there. But So there is the community development plan, which is kind of like from 76 to 2003, and then here we are in 2020. So there's a little bridge piece, but yeah, there's a lot of time to cover. So are there any other people or groups that we should be really focusing on in terms of engagement for the stakeholder or focus groups that you can think of right now? And they could be regional too. If there's a group that you're involved in or aware of, you know, any outdoor groups or recreational groups or things like that, that we should make sure that we get connected with.
I was wondering if the PVTA reaches East Longmeadow.
It reaches a very small part of it near like the Stop and Shop Plaza on North Main Street, but that's generally about as far as it goes.
That could be something if you wanted to speak to people who utilize it or would like more access to it.
Yeah, we actually do the planning for the Pioneer Valley Transit Authority, so we are very familiar with their work. It's just a funny thing. They're an independent organization, but they hire us to do all their planning. So yeah, we're familiar. We're very familiar with what they're doing. Okay, do we have any more slides on our next step that we wanted to go to?
No, that it was that slide, and then it's our questions and discussions.
Oh, which is what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And then another point, and I can't remember if this was to be discussed at this meeting or the next, is deciding a time of day that works for everybody.
Oh yeah, that's important.
This one just to get it started, but if there's a better time, evening, morning, all of your schedules are different, I'm sure. So if we could find something that the majority of the group could attend, that would be favorable.
What are we now? Everybody's here except for George.
So this was a 2:30 to 4:30 time slot on the, which Thursday is this? This is the first Thursday.
So what I'm hoping is to meet on the same like every first week of the month or every second or third. If Thursdays works for people, we can stick to Thursdays. What are your thoughts?
Well, Thursdays at this time work for me.
Generally, the
I'm
afternoon
good.
is a little bit better for me. So Thursday at, whatever Thursday you pick in the afternoon should be fine.
So we can just stick with the first Thursday?
And
Does that work?
Bethany, do you know if it was just this week that he wasn't able to stay for the whole thing?
I will check with him. I think he said evenings work best, but I think he also has PVPC meetings occasionally on Thursdays as well, Thursday evening. So I will check in with him.
Thursday, I think he has a
Those are
meeting.
like the third or fourth Thursday at 4
Oh,
o'clock.
okay, so we might
The
work
executive
if we're-
committee, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for
Right.
me, later on during the day is ideal, but whatever works for everybody else, I can certainly make work.
Okay. Well, since we have you and you have more time, I'm just gonna keep going with getting your input on stuff rather than let you go. I could let you go at 5 minutes because then it would have been an hour at least, but maybe we'll go longer if you're willing. But we just wanted to start telling you about the data that we're collecting and see if there's any pieces of information about the community that you're aware of that you feel like you want to make sure that we collect. So of course, we're doing all the basic demographic data, population trends, population by race and ethnicity, households, age, income. We're going to do a school district profile. Is there anything related to demographics that I missed that you're thinking about personally that you're like, wait, I want to make sure that they touch on that?
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah.
I'm currently on the broadband committee in town, and kind of a missing piece of information that we don't have is like how many subscribers there are to either like television service or internet service, and what kind of providers people actually are using.
Oh, great. That's very helpful. Any other general things that you're thinking of? We obviously did all the housing stuff already. We did the housing chapter, so there's tons of data from housing that we've already collected. In terms of industry and business, we'd be looking at what industries are there, the employment numbers, the labor force and unemployment rate, place of work, commute to work, major employers, agricultural activity, the tax base, the total assessed value of the taxable property, tax levy, average single family tax bill, tax exempt lands, tax rates by category. Is there anything else that's popping into your heads as I'm talking?
That
No.
sounds pretty comprehensive.
Okay. Good. Well, that was an hour almost. I know we said we were going to keep you busy for 2 hours, but we didn't, but we'll keep you busy for longer when we have stuff for you to review. So I feel like it's fair if we give you back an hour now, unless there's anything else that you all want to address. Bethany, no? We're all set?
I'm
Okay.
sending out an email in the next couple of minutes with the link to the current master plan. So feel free to give that a quick review just to see what we're basing the new one off of, and sections that are definitely outdated and need to be updated with what the community looks like now and where we want to head in the future. And I'll also try to put in, we have a hazard mitigation plan. The open space and recreation plan was recently approved, so I'll put that in there as well so you can give it a review while you're at it.
I guess I did want to ask, do you think it's feasible that we could meet once more in December or twice in January because we missed the November meeting? Are you all willing to consider that?
That works for me.
So since Thursdays are good, I guess Thursdays, can't do Thursday. We could do Thursday the 7th. That's only 2 weeks from now, the 17th. But we'd have to do it. Yeah.
We have, Catherine, we have another.
We have another meeting at 3, but I guess we could do one from 2 to 3. Or is there any chance you're available on Friday the 18th?
I'm open all day on Friday.
Does that work for you, Bethany?
I'm supposed to be on vacation, but I could come in for the meeting.
All right, we'll take advantage of that. Is everybody else available on Friday the 18th?
Yeah.
Because then we could introduce you to the engagement person and they could describe their plan for the workshops and their whole piece, and then you could give input on that, and that way that would be done, and then we could focus on the chapters. So the 18th at 3 to 4. We'll just keep it to an hour. Is that good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, you're all great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you on the 18th.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.